The Scythians were a powerful and enigmatic nomadic people who dominated the vast Eurasian steppes from around the 9th century BCE to the 2nd century CE. Renowned for their remarkable warrior culture, impressive horsemanship, and distinctive art, the Scythians left a profound impact on the ancient world. These steppes, stretching from the Black Sea to Mongolia, became the Scythians' arena, where they excelled as skilled horsemen and archers, waging wars, forging alliances, and thriving as both raiders and traders. During their reign, the Scythians interacted with numerous civilizations, including the Persians, Greeks, and neighboring tribes, influencing them and absorbing cultural elements in return. Greek historians, like Herodotus, painted the Scythians as fierce yet highly organized, a civilization unlike any other seen in the Mediterranean or Middle East. The Scythians also helped shape the concept of the barbarian in the minds of their contemporaries due to their nomadic lifestyle and formidable combat tactics, which set them apart from the sedentary cultures around them. At the heart of Scythian society was a complex cultural identity that revolved around martial prowess, loyalty to kin, and a deep connection to nature. Their society was organized around clans and tribes, led by warrior chieftains, and was remarkably egalitarian in certain respects, especially as seen in the existence of Scythian warrior women, who may have inspired the myth of the Greek Amazons. Scythian artisans produced elaborate gold jewelry and weapons adorned with animal motifs, now famous as part of the distinctive Scythian animal style that showcases their artistic innovation and craftsmanship. The Scythians' reputation as fierce warriors and skilled archers, coupled with their striking artistic legacy, made them one of the most intriguing nomadic civilizations of the ancient world. Their influence on future societies, from the Sarmatians to the Huns and Mongols, highlights the Scythians' significant role as cultural pioneers who bridged East and West, leaving behind an enduring mystique that continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and the public alike. The origins of the Scythians remain a fascinating subject of research and debate among historians and archaeologists. Though their precise beginnings are challenging to trace, many scholars believe the Scythians emerged in Central Asia or the Siberian region, likely from the Altai Mountains, sometime around the early 1st millennium BCE. Their roots may lie in earlier steppe cultures, from which they inherited key aspects of their nomadic lifestyle, including exceptional horsemanship and a deep connection to nature and warfare. Over time, the Scythians migrated westward into the vast Eurasian steppes, establishing themselves as one of the most dominant and influential groups across this expansive region. This westward migration positioned the Scythians along crucial trade routes, ultimately spreading their influence from the Black Sea in the west to Mongolia in the east. By the 9th century BCE, they had become a significant force across these steppes, displacing or absorbing other tribes and creating a cohesive yet highly mobile society. This movement toward the west brought them into direct contact with other powerful civilizations, including the Persians and Greeks, and they became well known for their skill in both trade and warfare. Notably, they developed a symbiotic relationship with the Greeks, exchanging goods like grains, furs, and slaves in return for luxury items and metals, which they shaped into the intricate, animal motif jewelry and weaponry that remain emblematic of Scythian artistry. Our knowledge of the Scythians comes largely from ancient historians and archaeological finds. Greek historian Herodotus provides one of the most comprehensive accounts in the Histories. Written in the 5th century BCE, Herodotus's work describes the Scythians as fierce nomadic warriors who posed a real threat to the Persian Empire under Darius I, who famously failed to conquer them. Herodotus also notes the Scythians' unique customs, which he regarded with a mix of fascination and horror, such as their reputed practices of drinking the blood of slain enemies and using skulls as drinking cups. Though modern scholars debate the accuracy of such claims, which may have been exaggerated or misunderstood by foreign observers, Herodotus's descriptions also provide insights into Scythian governance, religious practices, and social structure, portraying them as both brutal and resourceful. In addition to literary sources, archaeological evidence has been critical in reconstructing Scythian history. Scythian burial mounds, known as kurgans, reveal valuable details about their society, artistry, and beliefs. Kurgans found in places like Pazyryk in Siberia and the Valley of the Kings in Kazakhstan contain a wealth of well-preserved artifacts, including gold ornaments, weapons, horse gear, and textiles that reflect the Scythians' nomadic and martial lifestyle. The Scythians also left a mark on various landscapes across the Eurasian steppe, with their presence stretching from the Black Sea to the Altai Mountains. This extensive geographic range underscores their adaptability and resourcefulness, as they adjusted to different terrains and climates while maintaining a cohesive cultural identity. The geographical breadth of the Scythian world allowed them to influence a vast array of regions and cultures. In addition to their primary territories around the Black Sea and the Caucasus, they maintained influence in the Caspian region, and even parts of modern-day Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Russia. This expansive presence helped facilitate cultural exchanges across Eurasia, as the Scythians interacted with neighboring tribes, the Greeks, and even Persian forces. The Scythians' ability to control this vast area was due largely to their mastery of cavalry tactics and their strategic use of mobility, which allowed them to defend their territory against invasions and to raid surrounding regions effectively. The Scythians' origins in the eastern steppes and their expansion westward left a lasting imprint on Eurasian history. They were among the first to demonstrate the power and reach that a well-organized, nomadic society could achieve, marking the beginning of a long tradition of steppe empires that would continue with groups like the Huns and Mongols. The combination of historical records, notably from Herodotus, and archaeological discoveries has painted a rich picture of Scythian life and society, illuminating their significant role in the ancient world as formidable warriors, skilled traders, and cultural connectors across Eurasia. The Scythian society was fundamentally shaped by their nomadic lifestyle, relying heavily on horses for both mobility and warfare. Living on the vast open steppes of Eurasia, they developed a lifestyle that revolved around constant movement, with their herds of horses, cattle, and sheep providing the means for survival. This reliance on horses made the Scythians some of the most skilled riders of the ancient world, allowing them to move quickly across large distances, transport their mobile homes, and conduct raids and trade with equal agility. Their communities were based around yurts or portable tents, which they could set up and dismantle quickly, enabling them to adapt to the changing seasons and follow grazing patterns for their animals. Scythian society was structured into tribes and clans, with each tribe led by a chieftain who was often a skilled warrior and political leader. These tribal communities were linked by shared customs, language, and religious practices, although each clan likely had a degree of autonomy. The Scythians were also known for their loyalty to kin and clan, with tribal affiliation being a primary component of their identity. Within this framework, roles were typically divided along lines of gender and skill. Men primarily took on roles as warriors and hunters, while women contributed significantly to the economy, tending to livestock and crafting goods. However, Scythian society exhibited remarkable fluidity in gender roles, particularly regarding warfare. One of the most intriguing aspects of Scythian society was the prominent role of women, particularly as warriors, which ancient Greek writers likened to the fabled Amazons. Archaeological findings support the existence of female Scythian warriors. Burial sites often contain the remains of women buried with weapons, armor, and other items typically associated with male warriors. These findings suggest that some Scythian women were highly skilled in combat and might have fought alongside men, challenging traditional gender norms of the ancient world. This warrior culture among women reflects the Scythians' pragmatic approach to survival, where strength and skill in battle were valued regardless of gender. Family life in Scythian society revolved around close-knit clan structures, with a strong emphasis on loyalty and mutual support. Marriage practices were likely exogamous, meaning that individuals married outside their immediate clan, helping to create alliances between different tribes. Family bonds were vital, with parents and elders holding respected roles. Children were raised to be resilient and self-sufficient, learning survival skills and horsemanship from an early age. Societal values among the Scythians emphasized courage, loyalty to clan, and a fierce independence, qualities essential for life on the unpredictable steppes. Through these values, they maintained a resilient and adaptable society, capable of thriving across a vast and often hostile landscape. The Scythians' spiritual beliefs were deeply connected to nature, ancestral spirits, and powerful deities that governed their world. As nomads closely attuned to the natural elements, they revered forces such as the sun, wind, and sky, viewing these as manifestations of divine power. Their pantheon included several gods that mirrored their way of life and the natural landscape they inhabited. Herodotus records some of these deities, such as Tabiti, the goddess of fire, Papaeus, the sky god, and Api, the earth goddess. These gods embodied the essential elements of life for the Scythians, and were often honored through offerings and rituals conducted by shamans or tribal leaders. Scythian mythology and religious practices were a blend of indigenous beliefs and influences from neighboring cultures. They likely believed in a spiritual world that paralleled their own, with ancestors who continued to guide and protect their descendants. This belief in ancestral spirits underscored their veneration of lineage and heritage, with each generation honoring their predecessors. Scythian shamans, acting as spiritual mediators, played a central role in rituals, ceremonies, and healing practices, often using symbols and talismans in connection with the natural and supernatural worlds. One of the most remarkable aspects of Scythian spirituality was their burial practices, which reveal a deep belief in the afterlife. Scythian kurgans, large burial mounds, served as both graves and monuments to deceased chieftains, warriors, and respected members of society. These kurgans were complex structures, with chambers for the deceased and carefully arranged grave goods, including weapons, jewelry, and even horses, which were believed to accompany and serve the deceased in the afterlife. The Scythians' use of horses in these burials reflects their view of horses as sacred animals and crucial companions, not only in life, but also in death. Notable Scythian burials, such as those found in Pazyryk in Siberia, offer invaluable insights into their spiritual beliefs and cultural practices. The Pazyryk burials are famous for the remarkable preservation of mummified bodies and artifacts, thanks to the frozen ground. Some of these burials contain elaborately tattooed bodies, showcasing complex designs of animals and mythical creatures that may have held spiritual significance. The goods buried alongside the deceased indicate a belief in a journey to the afterlife, where the dead would require the same possessions and symbols of status they held in life. These artifacts also include richly decorated clothing, gold ornaments, and ritual objects that suggest the Scythians viewed the afterlife as an extension of their earthly existence, where the dead continued to enjoy wealth, power, and companionship. Through their burial practices, mythologies, and reverence for nature, the Scythians crafted a complex and deeply symbolic religious system that intertwined with every aspect of their nomadic lives. Their spirituality was not just a set of beliefs, but a lived experience, expressed through rituals, arts, and their treatment of the dead. This spiritual depth not only reinforced the Scythians' connection to their ancestors and their land, but also underscored their enduring influence on the cultures and religions of the Eurasian steppe. Scythian art is renowned for its distinctive and intricate animal style, a unique approach to design that emphasized the power and fluidity of animals, often depicted in dramatic poses or in combat. This style reflects the Scythians' spiritual beliefs and their intimate connection to the natural world. Animals such as eagles, stags, leopards, and mythical creatures were common subjects, embodying qualities like strength, ferocity, and speed traits that Scythians admired and associated with their own identity as nomadic warriors. Artifacts showcasing this style include metalwork, weapons, and jewelry, each piece meticulously crafted and adorned with lifelike details that illustrate the Scythians' deep respect for nature and symbolism. Among the most celebrated aspects of Scythian artistry is their goldwork, which has been preserved through burial sites and kurgans. Scythian goldsmiths created elaborate ornaments, jewelry, and ceremonial items, often decorated with intricate animal motifs. These items not only demonstrated the Scythians' technical skill, but also served as symbols of social status and personal identity. The craftsmanship found in these gold artifacts, such as the pectoral from the Tolstaya Mogila kurgan in Ukraine, reveals a high degree of artistry and technical sophistication, with layers of tiny animals and floral designs shaped to reflect both aesthetic beauty and symbolic meaning. These items were worn by elite members of Scythian society, marking them as powerful figures within their clans. The diversity in Scythian art also reflects cultural exchanges with surrounding civilizations, particularly the Greeks, Persians, and other Central Asian cultures. These interactions can be seen in the stylistic elements that appear in Scythian artifacts, such as Greek-inspired depictions of mythological scenes or Persian influences in the use of decorative patterns. The Scythians' role as intermediaries in trade routes like the Silk Road allowed them to absorb and reinterpret artistic techniques from other cultures, creating a fusion of styles that was distinctly Scythian yet cosmopolitan. This blending of influences highlights the adaptability of Scythian culture and their openness to new ideas, which enriched their artistic tradition and connected them to a broader world. The Scythians also expressed their artistry in clothing, weapon decorations, and symbols that conveyed affiliation or status. Nobles and warriors wore richly adorned garments, often decorated with embroidery, fur, and applique elements that reflected their rank and tribal identity. Weapons, too, were more than just tools for combat. They were works of art. Swords, shields, and bows were decorated with engravings and inlays, featuring the same animal motifs found in Scythian jewelry. These embellishments symbolize the owner's connection to the natural world and their readiness for battle, further cementing the Scythian warrior's identity within their culture. The Scythians were celebrated for their warrior culture, which was built on their exceptional skills as horsemen and archers. Known as masters of cavalry warfare, they utilized highly mobile, light cavalry units that could travel quickly and strike suddenly, making them a formidable force on the Eurasian steppes. Scythian warriors were trained from a young age to ride horses and use weapons, with the horse serving as both a symbol of power and a practical asset in battle. This mobility allowed them to outmaneuver larger, slower armies, and their hit-and-run tactics often overwhelmed opponents unfamiliar with such a dynamic approach to warfare. A hallmark of Scythian warfare was their use of the recurve bow, a powerful weapon that allowed for increased range and accuracy, making Scythian archers deadly at a distance. The recurve bow, crafted from wood, horn, and sinew, was compact and highly effective, particularly suited to mounted combat. In addition to the bow, Scythian warriors carried swords, known as akinakes, and other weapons like spears and battle axes, all adapted for the fast-paced and fluid style of warfare that defined Scythian combat. Armor was often light, designed to allow freedom of movement, with some warriors donning scale armor made from metal or leather. Scythian battle tactics emphasized ambushes, surprise attacks, and the use of psychological warfare. The Scythians were known to intimidate their enemies with fierce displays, including war cries and rapid horseback maneuvers, which created chaos in enemy ranks. Their approach to warfare was strategic and focused on exploiting the weaknesses of their foes. For example, they would often feign retreat to lure opponents into vulnerable positions, only to turn back and launch a sudden assault. This combination of skill, strategy, and adaptability allowed the Scythians to dominate vast territories and defend their lands from more powerful empires. The Scythians' martial prowess led to notable military confrontations with some of the ancient world's most formidable powers. One of the most famous of these was their clash with the Persian Empire under Darius I in the late 6th century BCE. When Darius attempted to conquer the Scythians in the Black Sea region, he encountered fierce resistance. According to Herodotus, the Scythians employed a strategy of attrition, retreating and destroying resources to exhaust the Persian forces, rather than engaging in open battle. This tactic frustrated Darius, ultimately leading him to withdraw, as he could not secure a decisive victory against the elusive Scythians. The Scythians also maintained a complex relationship with the Greek world. While they engaged in trade and cultural exchange with Greek colonies along the Black Sea, there were instances of military confrontation, especially as Greek settlers expanded into Scythian territories. Despite these occasional clashes, the Greeks respected the Scythians for their military skills and viewed them as a powerful, albeit distant, culture on the edge of the known world. The Scythians' reputation as skilled warriors and their ability to defend their homeland left a lasting impression on neighboring civilizations, cementing their legacy as one of the most formidable nomadic societies of the ancient world. The Scythians maintained a robust economy by balancing raiding with organized trade, a combination that supported their nomadic lifestyle and expanded their influence across the Eurasian steppe. Raiding was a traditional means of acquiring wealth, particularly through livestock, precious metals, and captives. However, trade was also vital to the Scythians, connecting them to vast economic networks and enriching their society through interactions with various cultures. The Scythians occupied strategic positions along major trade routes, including early routes that later became part of the Silk Road. These trade paths allowed the Scythians to connect the East with the West, making them intermediaries in the flow of goods from Asia to Europe. They traded a variety of goods, including horses, furs, and gold, which were abundant in their territory, in exchange for luxury items such as silk, spices, and fine pottery from distant lands. In particular, silk, a highly valued commodity originating from China, passed through Scythian lands, showcasing their role in the extensive network that stretched from China to the Mediterranean. One of the most significant trading partners of the Scythians was the Greek colonies on the northern coast of the Black Sea, such as Olbia. Through these Greek colonies, the Scythians gained access to items like olive oil, wine, and manufactured goods, while trading their own products, including grain, slaves, and hides. The relationship was mutually beneficial. The Greeks valued Scythian goods and relied on the Scythians to secure their overland trade routes. Additionally, the Scythians engaged in cultural exchange with the Greeks, absorbing some of their artistic styles, and even adopting Greek pottery and decorations, which were later found in Scythian burial sites. The Achaemenid Empire also influenced Scythian economic and political life, with the Scythians sometimes acting as mercenaries for Persian rulers or trading partners on Persia's northern frontier. Relations with the Persians were complex, as they involved both conflict and cooperation. The Persians sought to extend their influence into Scythian lands, but they also respected the Scythians as skilled warriors and valued their horses and nomadic goods. This blend of hostility and commerce characterized much of the Scythians' relationship with settled empires, demonstrating the adaptability of Scythian society in navigating both war and trade. Through these exchanges, the Scythians became central players in the distribution of goods across Eurasia. They controlled the movement of a wide range of items, including slaves, which were a significant part of the Scythian economy, as captives from raids were often traded to neighboring societies. Their economic success enabled them to obtain luxury goods, which contributed to the distinctive material culture evident in their kurgans. The wealth gained through trade not only enriched Scythian society, but also strengthened their power and influence, allowing them to sustain a nomadic empire that impacted civilizations across the ancient world. The Scythians had dynamic and multifaceted interactions with neighboring cultures, which ranged from cooperation to conflict. Their geographical position exposed them to multiple civilizations, including the Greeks, Persians, and other steppe tribes, leading to exchanges that left a lasting imprint on Scythian society and their neighbors. The Greeks, who established colonies along the northern Black Sea, interacted frequently with the Scythians, trading goods and sharing cultural practices. Greek historians like Herodotus wrote extensively about the Scythians, capturing both the admiration and the fear they inspired. To the Greeks, the Scythians were exotic warriors from the edge of the known world, and Herodotus recorded tales of their customs, from their horse-centered lifestyle to their fierce independence. Greek portrayals of the Scythians influenced how later societies viewed the Scythians as noble yet savage warriors who lived by their own unique codes. The Greeks' admiration for Scythian art and warrior culture is evident in Greek pottery and artifacts depicting Scythian motifs and figures. The Persians also engaged extensively with the Scythians, resulting in both conflict and alliances. During the reign of Darius the Great, the Persians attempted to conquer the Scythian territories north of their empire. This led to one of the most notable confrontations between the Scythians and a settled civilization. According to Herodotus, the Scythians employed tactics of evasion, retreating, and using scorched earth strategies to deny resources to the Persian army. This approach frustrated Darius and showcased the Scythians' prowess in asymmetric warfare. Despite this animosity, there were periods when Scythians served as mercenaries in the Persian army or traded goods with Persia, reflecting a complex relationship where warfare and commerce were intertwined. Relations with other steppe tribes were a blend of alliances and rivalries. The Scythians influenced and were influenced by other nomadic groups, such as the Sarmatians, who eventually displaced the Scythians from parts of the steppe. However, the cultural legacy of the Scythians persisted among the Sarmatians and later steppe empires, as they adopted similar artistic styles, social structures, and warfare tactics. This Scythian influence is seen in the warrior culture and mobility of later groups, including the Huns and even the Mongols centuries later. The Scythians set a precedent for the nomadic empires that followed, particularly in their fusion of military strength with adaptable social and economic strategies. In historical records, particularly those of the Greeks and Persians, the Scythians were depicted in diverse ways, often as fierce, almost mythical figures who embodied freedom and strength. Greek portrayals of Scythian women as Amazons, for instance, reflect the Greeks' fascination with Scythian warrior culture and the relatively elevated status of Scythian women in combat roles. Meanwhile, Persian accounts of Scythian resistance underscored the Scythians' resilience and ability to thwart a much larger empire, reinforcing their image as indomitable warriors of the steppe. These cultural exchanges and conflicts shaped both the Scythians and their neighboring civilizations. The Scythians' reputation as warriors, their artistry, and their strategic role as intermediaries in trade ensured that their influence extended beyond their own era, inspiring subsequent generations of nomadic cultures. Their interactions with the Greeks, Persians, and other groups left a legacy that endured, establishing the Scythians not only as a formidable force in their time, but also as a lasting symbol of the Eurasian steppe's rich cultural tapestry. The decline of the Scythian civilization is attributed to a mix of external pressures and internal shifts, with the rise of competing nomadic groups, particularly the Sarmatians, playing a significant role. By the 3rd century BCE, the Sarmatians, another powerful nomadic culture from the east, began encroaching upon Scythian territories in the Pontic steppe. Known for their cavalry and military might, the Sarmatians gradually pushed the Scythians out of their core regions, eventually overtaking them. Over time, this conflict weakened the Scythians, and many groups were absorbed into the Sarmatian tribes, reducing the Scythians' influence over the vast steppe region they once controlled. Furthermore, economic and environmental factors contributed to the Scythians' decline. Changes in trade routes impacted their economic stability, as well as their role as intermediaries in Eurasian commerce. Additionally, a shifting climate may have affected the grasslands they relied on, creating pressure on their nomadic lifestyle and possibly contributing to migrations. Some Scythian groups migrated southward, where they encountered stronger, established states that limited their influence. In the Crimea and the lower Danube region, some Scythian communities retained their identity longer, though they adapted to sedentary ways of life and increasingly mingled with local populations. Despite their decline as a cohesive power, the legacy of the Scythians remained alive in Eurasian history. Their military tactics, especially their innovative use of mounted archery, influenced subsequent steppe cultures and even armies beyond the steppe. Later nomadic empires like the Huns, Mongols, and Turks adopted and refined these Scythian methods, drawing upon the mobility, agility, and psychological impact of mounted warfare that the Scythians had pioneered. In art, the Scythian animal style, characterized by dynamic representations of animals in combat or intertwined poses, persisted across Central Asia and influenced the decorative traditions of the Sarmatians, the Huns, and later Turkic cultures. In modern times, the rediscovery of Scythian civilization has been driven by archaeology and scholarship, shedding light on their once-lost world. Excavations of Scythian burial mounds, or kurgans, across Ukraine, Russia, and Kazakhstan have unearthed spectacular artifacts, from gold jewelry to preserved clothing and tools, offering detailed glimpses into Scythian life. Sites like the Pazyukrank burials in the Altai Mountains have yielded remarkable finds, including mummified bodies, tattooed skin, and items of daily life preserved in permafrost. These discoveries have not only deepened our understanding of Scythian society, but have also sparked public fascination, as the Scythians are frequently seen as enigmatic warrior nomads whose influence once spanned continents. Today, the Scythians continue to capture the imagination, both in popular culture and historical studies. Their resilience, unique artistry, and fearsome reputation have inspired films, novels, and art exhibitions, while scholars explore their role as an early model of nomadic statecraft. The Scythians' rediscovery underscores the importance of archaeology in uncovering histories that might otherwise be lost, allowing a glimpse into a civilization that exemplified the complexity and adaptability of ancient nomadic societies. The Scythian civilization occupies a distinctive place in the annals of history, standing as a testament to the adaptability, strength, and cultural richness of nomadic societies. As fierce warriors, skilled artisans, and savvy traders, the Scythians shaped the cultural landscape of the Eurasian steppe and interacted dynamically with powerful empires like Persia and Greece. Their prowess in mounted combat and their striking artistic style have left a legacy that influenced centuries of steppe nomads and even cultures far beyond their own territory. The Scythians illustrate the complex interplay between nomadic and settled societies, showing how a mobile, decentralized culture could nonetheless wield immense power and impact. They bridged Eastern and Western worlds, facilitating trade and cultural exchange, and their reputation as both protectors and raiders underscored the duality of their role in ancient Eurasia. In a broader sense, the Scythians are emblematic of the resilience of human cultures that thrived against the odds, shaping their world while adapting to the challenges of their environment. Today, as archaeology and scholarship continue to uncover details of Scythian life, their legacy as warrior nomads and cultural connectors endures, reminding us of the far-reaching impact that even the most transient of societies can leave on history.